Hi, I'm Caitlin Dudas, the co-founder and executive director at the Pet Sustainability Coalition. I'm so excited to talk to you and really am excited about the new partnership between IndiePet and the Pet Sustainability Coalition to help bring value not only to your business, but to strengthen our industry overall. So Al asked me to come and speak to you, but before I launch into my content today, I really want to introduce you to me and who I am, but also to the movement of sustainability, because while I am one person, I represent a whole team of people that are helping to progress sustainability in the industry, but we also represent hundreds of companies that are on board as well. So the first thing I want to talk about is our mission. Our mission is to advance business through environmental and social practices. Now, I know that sustainable business means different things to different people, and it's a bit of a buzz term that has gained popularity in our industry. So I want to really quickly just clearly define what a sustainable business is. So a traditional business, ultimately at the end of the day, their goal is to show profitability to shareholders, returns on those investments. And a sustainable business takes that and adds to it. So not instead of, but in addition to driving return for its shareholders, it also looks at how does it impact both the environment where it does business and the communities where it does business as well. So it takes what we call a triple bottom line approach. So instead of one indicator of success, really looking at how do we also impact and bring prosperity to people and the environment as well. So I'm the co-founder and the executive director. We launched in 2013, and we serve almost 200 companies. So this is a movement that is alive and active within all areas of the sector. So retailers, brands, distributors, suppliers, producers, all the way through the supply chain. All of these companies are committed to our mission, looking at their own business and identifying their own opportunities for improvement. And then how do we all come together to address big key issues that can't be solved by a single company on their own? Issues like sustainable protein sourcing for our industry, issues like sustainable packaging or diversity, equity, and inclusion. These are all big industry issues that really will require all of these companies to collaboratively come together and to identify those solutions. So today, I'm really just going to cover two things. I'm going to cover what the role of standards is, particularly focusing on standards between retailers and brands, since that's who you all are. But then also talk a little bit about why sustainability is particularly an area of focus for IndiePet as well. So standards, what is the role of standards in an industry? I think what you need to think about here is within your business, you are heavily reliant on serving your customers as revenue and also your suppliers who are helping you to serve those customers. So the two areas above and below your company in the supply chain are heavily important in influencing your overall success. And so when you look at this, this visual, this is from World Wildlife Fund, it helps you to understand where you are in the supply chain. So if you're a brand, you know that you are heavily influenced by manufacturers and processors or primary producers, and also retailers and consumers. And as a retailer, those two on either side of you, where you become the sandwich, are consumers and brands. And so both of the audiences today are really adjacent to each other in the supply chain, and how you work together can really accelerate systematic adoption and send market signals to everyone before you in the supply chain in order to ultimately meet demand that we're seeing from consumers. So I want to model what it looks like without standards. And I'm going to show a lot of information on sustainability when we get a little later in the presentation. But first, I'm going to just focus on standards in general, right? So I want you to imagine you're alone in the industry. You're a single retailer, and you've got consumers who are asking for things, or as a business, you're asking for things of your brands. And in order to, let's say you have 6 brands. Now, obviously, this is a big simplification because you have a lot more than 6 brands and each of them have a lot more than 6 SKUs. But I'm just trying to model overall the role of a standard. So imagine your job as a retailer is to review claims or performance or quality or anything from your brands. Let's say you've got 6 of them, they've all got 6 questions. What you see in the middle here is your job in order to assess and review whether or not these things are accurate, so you can then present them to your customers because they're asking you questions. This is a big job for you. It goes the exact same if you're a brand, right? So if you're a brand, let's say you've got 6 retailers, they're all asking you 6 questions, then your job as a brand is to answer all of them, to provide transparency into how your performance is today on a whole host of different topics. Now, imagine going at this together. So I want to talk about what the role of a standard is to really create efficiencies in the whole system. So in an area or in a model where there is a standard in between, let's say you've got retailers and you've got brands, and together they're all inputting data into one single system. So as a retailer, you go to one place to get all the information. As a brand, you go to one place to enter all of that information. And together, through a single standard, you're able to really create massive efficiencies for both parties in this model. So I know that this might seem really simple, but sometimes I think it's important to kind of go back to the basics and really understand why is a standard an essential component of efficiency in a marketplace, particularly in CPG, as demands from consumers are changing all of the time. So I know there's also some trepidation around standards. It feels like regulation. Here in the United States, we generally are kind of predisposed to not liking things like standards or regulations. And so I want to address one thing right off the bat. So a lot of times people feel like, hey, if I'm trying to differentiate either my retail experience or my brand experience, how does a standard help me do that? It seems like a standard would really be a one-size-fits-all strategy that would make this like a cookie-cutter industry. So what I want to explain is that what you can do in order to tackle this is to make a standard more of a bigger envelope, right? So if you take all of the questions that you're getting from customers or all of the things that you're trying to get data on, and you put it into a single standard, then as a retailer, you can still pick and choose the things that are going to be your standard. And as a brand, you can also, determine from your different retailers which things you're going to focus on as well. So by creating a bigger envelope, you really allow there to be differentiation amongst retailers and brands who are entering data into the system. Now, another thing I think that's important to address is, don't standards cost money? And the answer is absolutely yes. Valuable things that increase efficiencies cost money. So I'm not here to say that this is a free opportunity to create efficiency. But what I am saying is it's important to understand kind of the flow of money in both scenarios. So scenario A, where you have no standard, and scenario B, where there is a standard. In scenario A, what you see is that the amount of investment increases over time. So as a retailer or as a brand, in order to respond to these questions and audits, you have to invest money in people and systems. And as more information is asked for, which is the trend that we see in the industry, is all around traceability and transparency. So as those questions increase, as a company, you are responding to them, and you have to increase your systems and your people who are able to respond to those. Now, that's all the same data that you're gathering, right? So brands are gathering the same data, retailers are gathering the same data. And so you're both spending money increasing over time around gathering the same data. Now, in scenario B, what you have is you have a higher upfront cost, but it decreases over time. So in this scenario, not only do you decrease cost over time because you have systems in place, and a system is able to add in additional elements that potentially you want to add in as a retailer, have more information on, or brands want to have more information on. So the system can continue to grow, but you also share data or tracking systems across the entire, across both stakeholders here. So if you imagine brands and retailers in this situation are given an opportunity to actually distribute the cost of a standard. And so while upfront it is a large cost, you will see that decrease over time. And per company, it's lower because you're really distributing that, because you're all equal investors into the system. So I've covered a little bit around standards, and I want to talk about why sustainability might be a key area of focus for IndiePet and the development of standards, so that you can understand some of the trends that we're seeing in sustainability, and really why have IndiePet and the Pet Sustainability Coalition formally partnered together. So quick sneak peek, the reason that sustainability has an opportunity to be a really key area of focus for retailers and for IndiePet is A, that sustainable products are being highly demanded by pet parents and they're increasing. And B, sustainability is good for your business. So yes, you get to help meet consumer demand, which increases revenue, but at the same time, you're also strengthening your business internally. And so there are great business benefits that come from that. All right, so let's take a look at products and what's happening in sustainability in terms of consumer demand. So products that are marketed as sustainable are driving product and category growth. Now to you, you might feel like, hey, sustainable products are a smaller percentage of my overall products. And so the share of market might feel small today, but if you look at the share of market growth across the CPG landscape overall, we see this area as one of the highest areas of growth within all product categories. So this is specifically CPG product categories, and we're seeing a huge increase in expectation. This mirrors all of the information that we've gathered as an organization when we ask pet professionals specifically if they're seeing an increase in demand for sustainability. Over 90% of them are saying yes, and that has increased over the last 3 years. So we're really seeing a shift here. Why are we seeing this shift? Now, when millennial pet parents and Gen Z, I'm going to talk a little bit about them and their shopping patterns, but when they became the largest pet owning generation, as an organization, we started to see exponential growth. So we're reflective of the fact that millennials and Gen Z have a really high interest and demand for sustainable products. But it's true across all Americans. So in the United States, 89% of Americans think that businesses should value people and planet as much as profit. So you have this core value. We expect companies to be a part of the solution to the environmental and social issues that we see in our news feeds and in our active lives. We want to be a part of that solution, and we see shopping and our spending as a way to align with companies that we feel good about. So ultimately, that shift or that strong value inside our country and inside the average individual has meant that there is a link to increase sales based on products that are able to resonate with that value. So consumers will pay more for sustainable products. How much, you might ask? Well, about 35% of them will pay 25% more than the original price, 7% will pay 50% more, and 5% are going to pay double the price for a sustainable product. Now, this is 2019 data specifically on Gen Z, but Gen Z and millennials are quickly growing. And this is true, they're heavy influencers on either side of them. So this is true across demographics of consumers. So that's, looking at as a retailer, what are your opportunities as a brand as well? And this is really about the expectation around, what type of increased sales might you see as you start to market your sustainable products? And really, what is the role of certifications and labels, which then goes back to that standards conversation we were having earlier. So the average annual sales increase for a product that has a sustainable label on it is about 2%. That jumps up to 5% if you've got that label and you're actively marketing the sustainability elements of your products. And you'll only see a 1% bump if you're not doing either of those things. So it's really a boost for companies who are taking this approach. So that's great. We know labels are increasing, are a way to really access this new market. However, at the same time, because there's not a lot of regulation in this country and we really have so many different definitions of sustainability, the eco-label market has exploded. There are 455 different eco-labels that's being tracked by Ecolabel Index, which is the largest indexing organization for labels in the world. And that's across 199 countries and 25 sectors. So if you're selling into different countries, it makes it really difficult to know what you should be focusing on as a brand. And as a retailer, this increases your ability to evaluate the authenticity of those claims when there are so many out there. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the standards that we see happening right here in the pet industry. And so with this I should just say, increasing demand for sustainable products from consumers, we can see retailers responding. So Petco made a commitment to increase their assortment of sustainable products to 50% by the end of 2025. This happened in the last 60 days. But this is one piece of their sustainability program, right? So it's a three-part sustainability program. They launched a full sustainability report about 30 days ago that's available for your review. But the sustainable product offering is really, ties together all these conversations around standards, as well as what the opportunity is for each of us to come together around sustainability. So you can see that they have a sustainable product offering. I know there's been a lot of questions, okay, so they've made this goal, but what does that really mean? How are they going to measure against that? And since Petco is a member of our organization and we help to support them to achieve this goal, I can tell you that they have 5 key areas of sustainability: responsible manufacturing, sustainably sourced materials, sustainably sourced ingredients, responsible packaging, and animal welfare. This is when they have quickly moved themselves into a leading retail space focused specifically on sustainability and standards around that, right? So there are dozens of certifications that they're looking for in order to really quantify whether or not a product can be considered sustainable or not. So today we talked about standards. We talked about how sustainability can help you increase sales and improve customer loyalty. But sustainability is good for your business in lots of other ways. I don't have time to go into all of these today, but you can see some of them here. So you can expect bottom line savings from efficiency improvements, higher employee productivity, satisfaction, and retention. That's a big one with some of the labor shortages that we're seeing right now. Reduce supply chain risk through increased transparency and traceability, as well as increased innovation. There are 500 or more, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reports out that show the long-term profitability of sustainability. Our team is happy to jump into any of these and do a deeper dive if you're interested. But overall, if you're ready to take action, the first step in the IndiePet and Pet Sustainability Coalition partnership is that we're offering 25% to all members of IndiePet to join our organization. That means you can start today by measuring your impact, baselining and benchmarking where you are today, building a roadmap for improvement that actually delivers on your expectations for return on investment, and then helping to celebrate your accomplishments along the way so that you can really gain momentum and make this an entire employee-led sustainability program as well that continues to grow and bring value to the company. But what are we all going to do together? And I think, I'm going to hand it back over, thinking about what you can do as an individual is critical and important, and everybody needs to be, to start or to accelerate their journey of where they are today. And we're really here to help you do that. And at the same time, I think thinking about what do we do as a collective in this space or in other spaces to help create efficiencies in the system and to accelerate our progress, ultimately to be a vibrant and healthy industry is a critical piece of the conversation today as well. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I can be reached at cdudas@petsustainability.org, and I'm excited to talk with you.